Okay, so if you're a content creator and you regularly post on social media, check this out. Isn't that neat? So I kind of wanted to showcase this little piece of gear by Ulanzi. I'm so sorry if I'm messing up the name, but yeah, this little piece of gear allows your camera, this little bracket allows it to just go into landscape, or you know, if you're shooting for reels, portraits, you could easily do that instead of having to buy an L bracket or a cage for your camera. There's some pros and cons. Obviously the pro is that you could just you know, that's it.
I found this on the web.
Shut up. That makes you more of a versatile camera operator and ultimately adding more value to your production. And if you're just a solo creator and you're not really shooting for any brands or any businesses, still, this could be an awesome way to just not have to take away your entire setup, having to screw the L bracket back onto the gimbal and do all that stuff. Part of those things that I kind of wanted to talk about is actual use of this product. So I currently have my gimbal on and I'm using a Rokinon 85mm f1.4 on my Sony FX3. This is actually kind of a heavy load for a small gimbal like the Ronin SC. I don't remember if it's the second version or the first version. I don't necessarily use this anymore, but this gimbal is a little bit more on the budget option, and I personally use the Ronin RS2 Pro. Is that what it's called? Anyway, that doesn't really matter. The amount of weight that the gimbal can handle actually matters when using something like this. So if you're using this gimbal, you will kind of have mixed results. Sometimes it could be good. Like for example, I do have my gimbal pretty good, but let's go ahead and actually see. It kind of moves. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that this little wheel right here is actually turned so that way it's loose and you can actually turn it. So it's all the way loose. See what I mean? It was a little bit finicky. So, but as you can see, now let me just tighten it to make sure that it doesn't get loose. So I'm not exactly sure on the specifications. This isn't a spec video. This is more of like a, hey, look, there's this piece of gear. Looks like it's made out of aluminum. I'm not exactly sure of what it's actually made out of, but it seems to work really well. So if you have a Ronin SC, I would say it would handle it just fine, but I don't think it would handle more than that. Again, that's more of just a gimbal issue of the weight, right? This one can't handle as much as say the DJI RS3, the RS2, whatever. Let me see if I can. So after that poor attempt at trying to show you guys how this works in the outdoors, I realized that filming at a public park where more than likely kids will show up is not the smartest idea. We're gonna have to go back inside. There's children that are popping out. I should have known better. You live and you learn. A few things from me attempting to use this. The adapter is you don't actually want to, currently right now we are, you know, we're good. Here, I'm gonna actually start recording a little bit. See, there you guys are, and there I am. You don't actually want to adjust the camera from landscape to portrait while the gimbal is on. It just makes for a really bad time if you don't get it right. I'm about to loosen it right here. So once you loosen it, there's nothing really keeping the rotation of the camera steady because of the gimbal's working. It's constantly shaking. So just keep that in mind when you are adjusting your camera with the adapter onto your gimbal. Make sure it is completely locked, and when you're about to make that adjustment from landscape to portrait, just make sure, yeah, see, it's still, I have it pretty loose. Or turn off the gimbal, make the adjustment necessary, and the gimbal is still working. The motors are still gonna be fine. As long as you have a gimbal that has a really high weight capacity, you should be fine. This doesn't affect it, I think, but just like check how close I am. Look at how close I am on the, like, I'm so about to touch this with, I think I'm like 1 millimeter away. For the Ronin SC, this is about as much as I would push it. If you have a bigger gimbal that can handle more weight, then this should not be a problem. But just a big mental note, make sure you turn off your gimbal before you do the adjustment. It's just saves you more of a headache. Yeah, if you guys can see, it's actually working pretty well. You know, aside from the fact that this is an FX3 shooting a ZVE1. Yeah, it works really well. I'm doing the thing, I'm doing the gimbal thing. The adapter is actually really good. Maybe not while you're actually filming and then you just want to adjust it. I'd say set it down, adjust it real quick, and then pick it back up. I know that's an extra step, but honestly, I would rather do that than to mess with my gimbal, mess with the motors, and possibly doing something that isn't really good and might actually have to replace, you know, your gimbal. It does what it's supposed to. It's supposed to make your life a little bit easier than to just, you know, adapt an L bracket. That just takes a little bit longer if you ask me. I've owned this adapter for quite a while. I just haven't used it as often as I wanted to. There have been a few shoots where they required landscape and portrait, and I do not want to keep going through both. Granted, the FX3 does have different mounting points, so it's just a little bit easier. But let's say, for example, the ZVE1 or any of your other cameras that don't have side mounts, yeah, that would be perfect. Anyways, if this video was helpful to you, please consider leaving a like, thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't really matter. Comment below, and if you are so inclined to, subscribe. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.